Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is a very exciting weekend because it is the Cincinnati book crawl. So I'm going to be heading out after work today. I'm going to be attempting to visit all of the shops on the book crawl list. Once I get my scorecard, I will show you how many there are and just kind of check out the riches of independent bookstores that we have in my community. Maybe find some great things along the way. And I am pretty excited. Seems like it's going to be a great way to kick off the month of October. So I will take you all with me. So let's go. Oh, and yes, I cut my hair. My hair is short now. I love it. So perfect for fall. I am ready. All right, so let's start out with the things that I got at Household Books. I always find some really great stuff there. And the first book that I picked up is on the New York Times 100 Best Books of the 21st Century list. I'm kind of, I wouldn't say trying to work my way through it, but I'm trying to read some of them. And I picked up Olive Kitteridge, and that's by Elizabeth Strout. And I think this book just sounds very charming. It says, at times stern, at other times patient, at times perceptive, at other times in sad denial, Olive Kitteridge, a retired schoolteacher, deplores the changes in her small little town and in the world at large, but she doesn't always recognize the changes in those around her. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of relationships. It's not actually, I think, terribly long. It's 270 pages, it looks like, and I've heard a lot of really great things about this one. It is literary fiction, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And then on the $3 table, we were able to get something we've actually been trying to pick up for a long time, and that is going to be the graphic novel Mouse. And we did pick up volume 1 as well as volume 2. I have just always really wanted to read this, and it is Banned Books Week, or it was last week when I was doing this, and this is a book that is frequently challenged in schools, which is something I definitely care about. I have never actually read it. It is the story of Vladek Spiegelman, a Jewish survivor of Hitler's Europe, and his son, a cartoonist, who tries to come to terms with his father's terrifying story and history itself. So I've heard this is just like a really moving graphic novel, and that the way the story is told is really interesting. And I am definitely very excited to finally be able to get to this one. And the final book that I got at Household Books was one that I have also been looking for a very long time, and that is the paperback copy of My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. And I'm going to bring this one forward so you can see it. I am just obsessed with the way this book looks. Is this, I mean, look at the back. If you've ever, like if you're my age and you grew up with VHS tapes, I mean, A+ job on the graphic design. This thing looks exactly like a VHS tape from back then. I have read this book previously. It's like a 3.5 star book for me. It's actually not my favorite Grady Hendrix, but I do want to own all of his books, and I believe this one, this cover I think only comes in the paperback. There is a hardback, but I think it has a different cover, so I wanted this one. And I have been looking for it used, and I was really, really excited to find it and be able to add it to my collection. And then from there we went on to Book Matters down in Columbia, Tusculum. I did not buy any books. They gave a sticker. It says, "Don't tell my TBR what I did today, Cincy Bookstore Crawl 2024. You can take a look at that. Very fun. Then I got this shirt, which is perfect for fall and Halloween, and it says, "The Bookery." Yeah, and that's perfect. I am so excited. Maybe I'm gonna put it on right now. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. And this thing, I love it so much. Look at the little bats. Amazing. So on Saturday we went to, I think it's 7 bookstores. We started out about 11 o'clock on the east side of town, and we kind of took the loop all the way around until we got back to where we live, which is in Northern Kentucky. And I got some footage, so I will show you that, and then I'll be back to talk about the books I picked up. Okay, so we started out the day in Anderson, which is on the east side of Cincinnati. We went to a lot of places, and I'm gonna just quickly talk through it. We started out at the book rack in Anderson, which has both new and used books. I always enjoy going there, although I did not buy anything because I just didn't see anything I was in the mood for. They do have a really great selection though, and they also have games, a lot of manga. Then we went to the Book Matters, which is in Milford, and it was incredibly crowded. That's a super popular place. It's also really small, and there was absolutely no way that I was going to be able to get in there to buy something, so I did not. We got our things stamped and we headed out. Then we went to the bookshelf, and that is in Madera, which is another tiny little town. I had never been there before. Thought it was super cute. It's run by 2 former teachers, and I actually did buy some books there, so I will show you those. So I did not buy, I think I only bought 3 new books during this crawl because I don't really buy new full-priced books just because that's not where like my budget is. I'm not gonna be buying like hundreds of brand new hardcovers unless it's my birthday or I got them for a present. But they were having a deal where you could pick out of a jar and choose your discount for your whole order. So I did get 2 new books. The first one is super exciting. I have read it before and I'm collecting all of his books, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I bought it for the cover, and that is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. Starter villain is the story of a man who inherits his uncle's super villain business, and it is over the top and funny and definitely a parody kind of James Bond films. Particular note are the spy cats, which are amazing. Also the sharks, which are forming a union. And I mean, I just love John Scalzi. His books always make me feel better. And I feel like I'm gonna wanna reread this one at some point when I'm having a bad day. And so I was excited to pick up this softcover. The other book that I got is actually a book that I just finished. And I actually, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh at this, but I picked up a copy of Air by Saba Tahir. First of all, the cover is so beautiful. Look how pretty it is. I just think it's gorgeous. And on the inside, we've got this map. Beautiful. I gave it 5 stars, but I picked it up now because it has a sticker. It is in the Good Morning America book club. And because this is the first edition, it's not printed with the sticker on the cover. The sticker can be removed. And so I wanted to buy it now because I hate those books that have the stickers that you can't take off, especially when the cover is as beautiful as I think this one is. This book is set in the same universe as The Ember and the Ashes, which is her quartet of books that she wrote about 10 years ago. I like those books, but I didn't love them, but I loved this follow-up. I do not think you need to have read the earlier books in order to understand it. I don't think it's necessary. There are characters from the other series that appear in this book, but they're mostly kind of like cameo characters. They're not really necessarily needing you to understand everything that happened to them in the earlier books. This is the story of the next generation, though. This is the story of 3 POV characters, Saoirse, Eyes, and Quill. It's the story of how their lives intersect as an ancient force is reawakened. This is a young adult book, but I would say that it sits on the older side of young adult, and quite frankly, if I did not know that it was categorized as young adult, I would not think that it was, and that is primarily because the writing is very mature, emotionally it's very mature, and it does have some more mature themes and topics within it that I would probably not expect to see in a young adult book. So keep that in mind if you're buying it for somebody younger, but in general, I just love this and I need it to be a hit. It is the first book in a duology. Cannot wait for the second one. And then we went up to the Book Bus Depot. So their theme is that they have a Volkswagen bus that they have retrofitted to be a book bus. And I'm going to show you their bookmark now. So you can see that and you can see the bus. And the bus does go out and go around places to various fairs where you can buy books from it. And it also currently was parked inside the shop, so you could kind of buy books off of the bus as you're browsing in the shop. They have some books that are from some English publishers. Particularly, there's this one, I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll link it down below, who deals primarily in female authors who were not famous in their time, who are really underappreciated. So they have that on a big display shelf. They also have a large selection of used books, which is what I got. And they have a cute little coffee shop next door that you can get to from inside the bookstore. So all of the best things. And this one is actually located in Sharonville. Sharonville is, to me, pretty far away. It's on the northeast side of Cincinnati. So this is kind of the furthest away from my home one that we went to during the book crawl. Also got a little sticker of the bus because it's so cute, and I'm gonna put it on my Kindle. And the book that I picked up there, I was really excited to find, is Long Bright River by Liz Moore. So Liz Moore also wrote The God of the Woods, and The God of the Woods is a book that I read this year, which I gave 5 stars to, and I'm recommending to everyone. I would say about that book as well about this book. People like to describe them as thrillers, and in a sense they are thrillers, but they are literary thrillers. They're going to be slower than you were thinking if you're used to a fast-paced, twisty read. These are much more about the characters and their histories and their psychology. I love them. I don't love a traditional thriller, to be honest. So this is much more my speed. It sits somewhere in between, I think, a literary book and a traditional mystery story. This one says, 2 sisters travel the same streets, though their lives couldn't be more different. Then one of them goes missing. In a Philadelphia neighborhood rocked by the opioid crisis, 2 once inseparable sisters find themselves at odds. One, Casey, lives on the streets in the vise of addiction. The other, Mickey, walks those same blocks on her police beat. They don't speak anymore, and the police department has no idea of their connection. But Mickey never stops worrying about her sibling. And I did read this, and I gave it 4.5 stars, but I don't remember that much about it. I don't know when this came out. I read it right when it came out, 2020. So the last year, I read this one, and I think I need to read it again. And I haven't bought The God of the Woods yet because, as I said, I don't like to buy brand new hardcovers, and it's, $30. So I'll get that one eventually when I find it used. But I've already got this one. I was excited about it. Okay, and then when we left the Book Bus Depot, we went a little bit across town to a town called Wyoming. And Wyoming is home to one of my very favorite stores in the area, the Friends of the Public Library store. I love a used bookstore. And the Friends of the Library store does have retired library books, but they also have books that are donated. So if you're thinking that everything there is going to be in a library binding, that's not true. There are a lot of library bindings, but there's also a lot of books that you can find that are going to just be normal books. And I'm going to tell you, I picked up, looks like 4 books. And the first one is going to be The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. So let me pull that forward a little bit. I don't know anything about this book. It does say that it won the National Book Award. And I have never read an Ursula K. Le Guin book. And I know that she is one of the, the grandmasters of science fiction. And I love science fiction. And I think it's probably kind of tragic that I haven't read one of her books yet. So I'm excited to get into this one. A bleak moon settled by utopian anarchists, Anares has long been isolated from other worlds, including its mother planet, Urus, a civilization of warring nations, great poverty and immense wealth. Now Shevik, a brilliant physicist, is determined to reunite the 2 planets which have been divided by centuries of distrust. He will seek answers, question the unquestionable, and attempt to tear down the walls of hatred that have kept them apart. I know that her books are very philosophical. I know that they're much more about big ideas than they are about the kind of space opera kind of stuff that a lot of science fiction now is about. I was not sure which one of her books I wanted to start with, but now I own this one. So it looks like it's gonna be this one. So if you've read it, please let me know down in the comments what you thought about it, because I don't really know that much. And then I picked up a fantasy book, and it is by Mary Robinette Kowal, who also wrote The Calculating Stars, and it's called Shades of Milk and Honey. Let me pull that forward so you can see it a little bit. Not my favorite cover that I've ever seen. It looks very much like a book of the age that I think it is. What do we think? 2014? Let's see, 2010. Okay, I was a little bit later, but every book had a lady on the cover in this time period, right? So the blurb on the cover says, Shades of Milk and Honey could easily fit into Austen's canon, except of course for the inclusion of magic. So Jane Austen plus magic, yes. And then on the back here, it says, it is the intimate portrait of Jane Ellsworth, a woman ahead of her time in a world where the manipulation of glamour is considered an essential skill for a lady of quality. So it says this is her debut novel, and the comp title's on the back here. It says, it is like wandering onto a secret picnic attended by Pride and Prejudice and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It is exactly the sort of tale we would expect from Jane Austen if she lived in a world where magic was real. So this sounds really good, actually. And I don't think I know anything about it besides that. I think I've heard of it before, but definitely have not read it. And I am pretty excited about it, actually. Hey, we have 2 more books. Is that right? 3 more books, actually, from the Friends of the Library store. So we're gonna start with this, which I thought was the coolest edition of this book. I have never read it. It is a classic. It is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And this is the 40th anniversary edition. So 1967 to 2007. It recreates the original jacket and design for a new generation. So I guess it is the original. I'm actually not sure about that, but it's such a cool design on the front. I don't know that much about this book. I know a lot of reviewers who I really trust. A lot of them will claim this is one of their all-time favorite books, and it is so short, and it's kind of tragic that I haven't read it. My partner Sean has read it and he loves it, and he was like, yeah, you should read that. And it was $3. I think this is kind of a coming of age story. It says it was written by the author when they were just 16 years old. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is one of those books that I kind of associate with, you know, that kind of like mid-century period, associated, I think, a little bit with books like Catcher in the Rye and things like that, although I think that book was written earlier than this. And I am just really excited to check it out and see what the hype is about. And I love this edition. I think it was on their banned books display. I got several books off of the banned books display. And I'll go ahead and get to my next one, which also came off of the banned books table. And that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. So this is the collector's edition, it says, and I'm going to warn you before I pick it up here in front of my light that it is very shiny. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. Yes. That is the shiniest thing I have ever seen. So I have read this book, and it's a 5-star read. If you have never read this, it's just amazing. It says, 16-year-old Star Carter moves between two worlds, the poor Black neighborhood where she lives and the fancy suburban prep school that she attends. The uneasy balance between these worlds is shattered when Star witnesses the fatal shooting of her childhood best friend at the hands of a police officer. This is just a really, really great book. I'm interested in reading it again, and I also know Sean has not read it, so I think this will be a good one for us to own. I'm just going to keep doing this because I like things that are shiny. All right, and then the last book I got at the Friends of the Library store was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I'm going to pull this forward too. It's another beautiful cover. I'm going to try and catch the foiling in the light there. So I don't know anything about this. I've seen a few reviewers say that they really liked it, and then I looked up the reviews on Goodreads when I got home and they were absolutely horrible. That doesn't mean I won't like it. So let's get into, first of all, look at that inside jacket, beautiful. It says, 17-year-old Alice Prosperine and her mother have spent most of Alice's life on the road, always a step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch-dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. Her mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from the cruel supernatural world her grandmother created. Her only lead is the message her mother left behind: stay away from the Hazelwood. I know this book also has a sequel, but I'm going to be honest, I bought it because the cover was so pretty. And I was like, well, I have heard of that. The reviews were kind of universally like, this is the least likable main character that I've ever seen in a book. But I don't necessarily, I'm not going to be mad at that if it's for a reason. So we'll see. All right. And then we are still on Saturday. We have not gotten to Sunday yet. So then we went off to go all the way south to North Side. And we went to Downbound Books. Downbound Books is a very, very tiny, very cute store. Always enjoy visiting there. But I did not buy anything because it was also very crowded because it's so small. I am so happy, aside, to see so many people out visiting these bookstores. Like, we are so lucky, I know, in Cincinnati to have this large collection of independent bookstores. And this is not actually even all of them. There are actually several more that were not even on the crawl. So we went there, and then we went to our last stop on Saturday, and that was Manga Manga. We do have this amazing bookmark that they gave me. It is a store that is indeed all manga. I have never been there. I am not someone that reads a lot of manga just because I find it very intimidating. I don't really know where to start. I'm more likely to read a graphic novel than I probably am to read manga because it's just like, ugh, I don't know what to do. So I was like, I feel like I want to buy something, but I don't know what to buy. And there were so many people in there. So I kind of panic bought a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I bought, and you were going to laugh at me so hard. And it is Night of the Living Cat. Here we go. Feast your eyes upon that amazing cover. Okay, so it says, you will all be cats. Cats will walk the earth. A virus spreads across the world, transforming all humankind into wild, slavering, furry beasts. Cats, to be precise. These few survivors that remain human take refuge in the dark corners of the earth as they fight back against the feline horde. Kunagi, a man with no memory of his past yet a deep knowledge of cats, struggles to hold on with only his wits and a will to survive. Yet the virus transmits merely through cuddles. And Kunagi finds kitties so hard to resist. Is his willpower strong enough to withstand this hair-raising catastrophe? Okay, yeah, no, I love cats, right? That's all I got. I love cats, and it's spooky. It is October, it is spooky season, and I'm gonna read this thing this month. There is a second volume of this that they had also, so we can all look forward to my review of this, hopefully at the end of October. Now we finally made it to Sunday, and I'm gonna show you a quick little video with some of the shopping that we did. So we went to 5 stores. We went to Blue Marble Books, which is a very old, well-known children's bookstore. They also had a fair amount of stuff for adults that I found quite enjoyable. I just thought it was super cute. I'd never been there before. I don't have a lot of kids to shop for, but now I know it's there and it's not that far away from me. So I really enjoyed that. We went to Conveyor Belt Books. Conveyor Belt is mostly collectible books. I have been there before. It's not my favorite shop because it is very curated, which is fine, but I feel like it might be curated for a specific taste that isn't mine. So I never find anything there, but it might be your taste, so you should check it out. It's a very pretty store. They play nice music, enjoyable. And then we went to Indy, Northern Kentucky, which I got a sticker at Indy, Northern Kentucky, and you can see that. They are I don't know if they're a zine publisher or just a zine store. They're located in Bellevue, but they're about to move to Dayton, Kentucky, just down the street. And that was kind of fun, kind of a nice little visit. Didn't pick up anything there besides the sticker. We went to Roebling Point Books, which is also a coffee shop. They have 3 locations, 2 of which are basically in my neighborhood, one of which is a little further away. They're actually my favorite new bookstore in Kentucky, in Northern Kentucky over here, particularly the Newport store, which is the one that we went to for this trip. It's it's just really great. And they have good coffee too. And they have this big room in the back where there's lots of big tables and room to like just hang out. And it's a nice store. You should check that out. And then the store that I actually bought stuff at today. Hold on, I gotta grab it. So one more stop for our last day. And we went to the Hidden Chapter in Fort Thomas. The Hidden Chapter is mostly used books. They do have some new books, and the books they have are really heavily fantasy, horror, mystery, all the stuff that I love. So I'm a big fan of the store. They also have like a full bar, and they sell snacks, and it's just a great place. And the decorations are amazing. It's kind of this Victorian theme, very into it. So I picked up 4 books, because I always find a lot of stuff there. And I think these are all former library books. This first one is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. So I have been kind of wanting to find this book because I have all of his other books. This one is a former library copy. You can kind of see that somebody, I'm not sure if they do that at the store. They have gone in and removed the plastic cover to get you back down to the bare dust jacket again. I never buy, when I go to the Friends of the Library store, I never buy the hardcovers that have the plastic on them because it gives me so much anxiety to have to try to take that plastic off. And of course, the soft covers that they have put the plastic on, you can't take that off. So those are just the way that they are. But you can get these off, even if, like my library, they glue a strip of paper down in them. But I'm willing to pay a couple dollars extra so that somebody else does that job for me. That is completely fine. This book's not in perfect condition, but to be honest, I probably didn't buy it to read it. I bought it to set it next to all of my other Stuart Turton books on the shelf, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. This is a time travel mystery story set in, I think it's like the 1920s, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. It is a little bit confusing to follow at times, but I personally really enjoyed it, and I'm a big fan of Stuart Turton, so now I have all of his books. All right, and then I picked up a book that is on my winter TBR this year, and that is going to be Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Pull that forward, you all know what Beartown looks like, don't you? So this is the story of a small town and a hockey team and the scandal that happens with the hockey team and how it affects the town and everyone in it. This is a series, and I'm pretty sure there's also a TV show. I haven't seen it. I have previously tried to read 2 Frederick Bachman books. I have not been a super big fan, but hope springs eternal, and maybe this is going to be the one that turns me into a Frederick Bachman super fan. I've just really wanted to read this one, and I was excited to pick it up. And it is, yes, also a former library copy. 2 more books. These are both by one of my, and I think everyone's favorite authors. And first one is a book that's been on my TBR that I've been avoiding reading, to be honest. That is Holly by Stephen King. So earlier this year, I read the entire Mr. Mercedes trilogy because I wanted to read Holly, which had just come out. And I wanted to read those books first so that I would understand her character. And I do love Holly. She's awesome. I got a little burnt out though. Not on her, but on those books. And so I never actually got around to reading this one. So I'm hoping that now that I own it, I'm not going to have an excuse for not reading it. Holly is one of Stephen King's most compelling and ingeniously resourceful characters. She's returning in this thrilling novel to solve the gruesome truth behind multiple disappearances in a Midwestern town. So yeah, Holly's an amazing character. She's very unique. And it's very interesting to me because I have read a lot of Stephen King, and I wouldn't say he's my absolute favorite author, but I do really enjoy Stephen King, but I have always thought that he was pretty terrible at writing female characters, if I'm honest. But Holly is an exception. I love Holly, so I really am excited to read her book, and also love this house on the cover. I live in a Victorian house, so I have a problem. And I have one more book, and my last book from the book crawl is going to be Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Again, Stephen King. So this one is one of his chunky books. Let's see how long it is. It's about 600 pages, looks like a little under 600 pages. This one is not a former library copy, unlike the others that I bought from the store today. And this does have a little damage on the back, but I don't care about that. So I love this cover because I thought from seeing this in countless YouTube videos that the cover was featuring like a dragon's eyeball or something like that, but it's actually a stairwell that this boy and kind of a wolf dog situation are looking down into. So I don't know what this is about, but I believe that it is a portal fantasy. And I love a good portal fantasy. I've never read any of Stephen King's fantasy. I know he has that whole series that I have not read because they get increasingly ridiculously long, and I am kind of someone who's not a big fan of 1,200 page long fantasy novels. I say as someone who's in the middle of a really long fantasy series right now. Anyway, looking forward to reading this. If you've read it and you have also read a lot of other fantasy, I would be curious to hear what you think about it and how it compares to a lot of the fantasy that is written by authors that primarily write fantasy. I'm just very curious about it and how Stephen King handles this. Okay, and there you have it. That's everything that I got on my book crawl. I had a really great time. I got to meet some really nice people. I got to go to some stores I've never been to before. And I think that we just had a really fun weekend. And I didn't spend too much because mostly I just bought a bunch of used books. So that was a triumph too. But I mean, I just had a really great time. And I hope you have enjoyed my video where I showed you everything that I picked up. Now I need some space to put these books. A bunch of them are gonna go behind me on this TBR cart because a lot of new stuff for me to get to. I'm really excited. This is your first time here and you sat through the whole video. Congratulations, thank you. I would love if you would leave a comment. Let me know how you found me. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them. And with that, I hope that you all have a great week. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.